I am 80 years old today, and I want you to listen to me not as an old man, but as a man who has lived through recessions, wars, booms, crashes, miracles and mistakes that cost me millions before they taught me wisdom worth billions. I have buried friends who were richer than kings and poorer than beggars in the same lifetime. I have watched currencies rise and fall, banks collapse overnight, and ordinary people lose everything because they trusted the wrong promises and ignored the right truths. And if you allow me just a few minutes of your attention, I will share the one truth that changed everything for me. The truth I wish someone had carved into my mind when I was 20. You see, when I was young, I believed. Hard work alone was the answer. My father believed it. His father believed it. And America itself was built on that belief. Work hard, save your money, stay loyal, and someday you'll be safe. But life taught me a brutal lesson. Hard work without financial intelligence is slavery wearing a suit. I worked harder than anyone I knew. I missed birthdays, weddings, and entire decades chasing a paycheck. That vanished the moment inflation, taxes, and poor financial decisions took their cut. No one warned me that money is not earned, it is managed. No one told me that the system rewards those who understand it, not those who sacrifice the most to it. By the time I was 30, I was earning more than my neighbors, but owned less than them. By 40, I realized my savings were shrinking even though my income was rising. By 50, I learned the terrifying truth that retirement is not an age, it is a number, and most people never reach it. I watched smart engineers, doctors, and business owners panic during market crashes because no one taught them how money actually works. Schools taught us history but never taught us how debt controls nations. They taught us math but never taught us compound interest, the most powerful force on earth. Albert Einstein called it the eighth wonder of the world, and I learned too late that those who understand it earn it, and those who don't pay it. Every credit card bill, every high-interest loan, every poorly planned investment is proof that ignorance is expensive, and the price is not paid in dollars alone. It is paid in stress, broken marriages, lost health, and dreams postponed until they die quietly in retirement homes. The one truth that changed everything for me was this: money must work harder than you do, or you will work until you die. That single realization shattered my old beliefs and rebuilt my life. I stopped asking, how much do I earn? And started asking, how much do I keep, grow, and protect? I learned that wealthy people don't chase money. They build systems. They diversify income, minimize taxes legally, leverage assets, and invest with strategy instead of emotion. They don't panic when markets fall. They prepare for it. They don't fear inflation. They position against it. And most importantly, they never stop learning, because the moment you think you know enough about money, it finds a new way to humble you. I learned that financial freedom is not about luxury. It's about control. Control over your time, control over your choices, control over your future. When money controls you, every decision becomes smaller. When you control money, your life expands. Today, I look at the younger generation and I see myself, ambitious, exhausted, and misinformed. I see people working 2 jobs while algorithms make millions overnight. I see families drowning in debt while corporations use the same debt to get richer. I see people afraid of investing because no one explained risk properly, that the greatest risk is doing nothing. Inflation is silently stealing your savings every day, and most people don't even notice. Your money is losing value while sitting still, and the system depends on your ignorance to survive. This is not conspiracy. This is math, and math never lies. That is why the smartest decision I ever made was not earning more money, but surrounding myself with better financial knowledge, better tools, and better strategies. I stopped guessing and started planning. I stopped trusting headlines and started trusting data. And when I did, everything changed. My income, my confidence, my future. If there is one thing an 80-year-old man has earned, it is the right to tell you the truth without fear. And the truth is this: no one is coming to save your finances. Not the government, not your employer, not your pension, not your bank. The responsibility is yours, and the opportunity is yours too. The modern world has given you access to financial tools, education, and investment SDR. Adages that my generation could only dream of. But access means nothing without action. The difference between those who win financially and those who struggle is not intelligence, luck, or background. It is decision-making, and one smart financial decision made today can save you decades of regret tomorrow. I stand here not to impress you, but to warn you and to invite you, because once you understand this one truth, there is no turning back. Your relationship with money will never be the same again. When that truth finally settled into my bones, not just my mind, I did something most people never do. I changed how I thought before I changed how I earned. Let me tell you something uncomfortable, especially for my friends in the United States and Canada. Most people are not broke because they don't make enough money. They are broke because they were trained to be consumers before they were trained to be investors. From the moment you wake up, the world is selling you something: comfort, convenience, status, fear. And the more you earn without a plan, the more expensive your life becomes. I learned this the hard way. Every raise I got came with a bigger house, a newer car, a higher lifestyle, and deeper financial chains. That is not success. That is a prettier cage. Wealth, real wealth, is invisible at first. It looks boring. It looks disciplined. It looks like delayed gratification in a world addicted to instant pleasure. The turning point in my life came when I stopped asking, "What can I afford?" and started asking, "What will pay me back?" That single question paraded spending from investing. And once I understood that difference, my money finally began to listen to me. I began studying how the wealthy think during crises. I noticed something fascinating. When markets crash, headlines scream panic, but balance sheets whisper opportunity. The wealthy don't fear downturns because they understand cycles. They know markets breathe in and out just like life does. I watched people sell in fear while institutions bought in silence. I watched ordinary families freeze their savings in cash, unaware that inflation was quietly cutting its value year after year. I learned that cash is not safety. Cash is potential energy, and if it sits too long, it rots. That is why intelligent diversification became my shield. Not gambling, not speculation, strategy, ETEs that grow, assets that produce income, assets that protect against inflation, assets that benefit from time instead of fighting it. I stopped betting on one outcome and started preparing for many, because certainty is expensive, but preparation is priceless. Another painful lesson I learned was about debt. Not all debt is evil, but all ignorance is. I was taught to fear debt without understanding leverage. I was never taught how corporations use debt to reduce taxes, acquire assets, and multiply returns. I was only taught how to use debt to consume things that lose value. That misunderstanding alone keeps millions trapped. When you use debt to buy liabilities, it drains you. When you use it strategically to acquire income-producing assets, it can accelerate you, if and only if you understand risk, cash flow, and timing. That's why financial education is not optional anymore. It is survival. The world has changed. Pensions are disappearing. Job security is an illusion. Longevity is increasing, and retirement savings are shrinking. Living longer without financial planning is not a blessing, it is a burden. I realized that my greatest asset was not my money, but my ability to make informed decisions repeatedly over time. At 60, most people slow down. I sped up. Mentally, I invested in my financial literacy the same way I once invested in my career. I learned how tax efficiency could save more money than higher returns. I learned that $1 saved legally in taxes is worth more than $1 earned painfully through overtime. I learned that protection matters as huge as growth, because one lawsuit, one medical emergency, one unplanned event can erase decades of effort if you are not structured properly. The wealthy plan for risk, the poor pray against it. That difference is not moral, it is educational. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Every financial move became intentional. Every decision had a purpose. My money stopped leaking, and when leaks stop, growth becomes inevitable. I want you to understand this clearly. The financial world does not reward good intentions. It rewards good systems. Hope is not a strategy. Hustle without structure is exhaustion. Motivation fades, but systems compound. Automatic investing, strategic allocation, long-term thinking with short-term awareness. This is how money grows quietly while you sleep. And in T.O.'s world, those who rely on a single income stream are one disruption away from disaster. I learned to respect multiple streams of income, not to work more hours, but to reduce dependency. Dependency is the enemy of freedom. Whether it's dividends, cash-flowing assets, digital investments, or intelligently managed portfolios, the principle is the same. Income should not depend entirely on you. R. Physical presence. Time is your most expensive currency, and spending it only to survive is the poorest trade you can make. Now, at 80, I don't impress people with what I own. I impress them with what I don't worry about. Bills don't scare me. Market volatility doesn't shake me. Economic headlines don't control my mood. That peace did not come from luck. It came from alignment. Alignment between knowledge, strategy, and action. And here is the part most people miss. The best time to start was 20 years ago, but the second best time is today. Not tomorrow. Not when the market feels safer. Not when you learn a little more. Safety comes from preparation, not delay. Every year you wait, compound interest works against you instead of for you. And trust me, nothing hurts more than KN. Owing time was available, but courage was missing. If my voice carries any authority today, it is because it carries regret turned into wisdom. I don't want you to reach my age and realize that you traded your best years for financial confusion. You deserve clarity. You deserve tools. You deserve strategies designed for the world as it is, not the world our parents promised us. Money is not evil. Money is not greedy. Money is simply a magnifier. It amplifies who you are and what you understand. And once you learn to control it instead of fearing it, you stop surviving, and you start building something that lasts beyond you. Now let me bring this home, because wisdom without action is just entertainment. And at 80 years old, I don't speak to entertain. I speak to wake people up. If there is one regret that echoes louder than any other in my life, it is this. I waited too long to act because I thought I had more time. Time is the only asset you cannot earn, borrow, refinance, or recover. Money can be rebuilt. Businesses can be restarted. Markets can crash and rise again. But time only moves in one direction, and it charges interest on delay. I have watched people study finance for years, without ever investing a single dollar, waiting for the perfect moment that never arrives. Let me tell you something the markets don't advertise. Clarity comes after commitment, not before it. Confidence is built through action, not contemplation. The people who changed their financial future were not the smartest. They were the most decisive. They started small, they made mistakes. They learned, and they adjusted. Meanwhile, those who waited for certainty paid for it with opportunity cost, the most invisible and expensive tax of all. You must understand this about the modern financial world. It is designed to reward speed, structure, and informed risk-taking. Inflation punishes hesitation. Taxes punish ignorance. Volatility punishes emotion. But the same system generously rewards those who educate themselves and align with proven strategies. This is why guidance matters. Not rumors, not social media hype, not emotional decisions driven by headlines. Real guidance, real data. Real frameworks built on decades of market behavior. At my age, I no longer gamble, I position. I don't chase trends, I align with fundamentals. And I don't trust my future to hope, I trust to planning. Whether you are just starting your journey or trying to correct years of missteps, the principle is the same. You need a clear financial roadmap, not a one-size-fits-all plan, but a strategy tailored to your income, your risk tolerance, your goals, and your timeline. Because unmanaged money creates anxiety, but well-managed money creates options. Let me be very direct with you now. If you do not intentionally design your financial future, someone else will design it for you. And they will design it to benefit themselves, not you. Banks profit from your deposits. Credit companies profit from your interest. Institutions profit from your fear. That doesn't make them evil, it makes them informed. The question is, will you remain uninformed, or will you step into the same level of understanding they operate from? The wealth gap is not just about income, it is about access to strategy. And today, that access is no longer reserved for elites behind closed doors. The tools exist, the education exists, the opportunities exist. What's missing for most people is a trusted starting point, a place where complexity is simplified and action becomes possible. When I finally solve structured financial guidance, everything accelerated. Not because the markets changed, but because my decisions did. I want you to imagine your life 10, 20, 30 years from now. Imagine waking up without financial pressure dictating every choice. Imagine saying yes to opportunities because you can, not because you must. Imagine helping your family, supporting causes you believe in, and leaving something behind that reflects wisdom, not worry. This is not fantasy. This is planning. This is what happens when money becomes a tool instead of a threat. And it starts with one decision, deciding that your financial future deserves professional attention, not leftover energy. Just like you wouldn't perform surgery on yourself or defend yourself in court without expertise, you should not navigate complex financial systems alone. The cost of guidance is always lower than the cost of mistakes. I am living proof of that. At 80 years old, I no longer measure wealth by what sits in my accounts, but by the peace in my sleep. That peace came from aligning with smart strategies, disciplined investing, and informed advice that evolved as the world changed. And that is the invitation I leave you with today. Don't wait for a crisis to force you to act. Don't wait for regret to become your teacher. Learn from someone who has already paid the price in time. Start now, start intelligently. Start with the mindset that every dollar you earn should have a job, a purpose, and a future. Because the one truth that changed everything for me is the same truth that can change everything for you. Your financial future is not a matter of chance. It is a matter of choice. There is something else age gives you. Something far more valuable than money: perspective. At 80, you stop being impressed by noise and start listening for signals. You realize that most people are distracted not because they are weak, but because the world profits from their distraction. News cycles are designed to scare you. Advertisements are designed to make you feel incomplete. Social media is designed to make you compare your behind the scenes with someone else's highlight reel. And while people are busy reacting emotionally, the real financial moves are happening quietly, methodically, and without headlines. I learned that wealth is built in silence and revealed in options. The loudest voices are usually the least prepared. The calmest people in the room are often the most financially secure, because they are not guessing, they are positioned. One of the most dangerous myths sold to the middle class is that diversification is complicated, or only for the wealthy. That lie alone has cost families generations of progress. Diversification is not about owning everything. It is about not being exposed to one failure. I learned that relying solely on a salary is like balancing your entire life on one leg. It works until it doesn't. Industries change. Companies disappear. Skills become outdated. And when your income depends entirely on someone else's decision, your future is fragile. The financially wise build layers. They build buffers. They build income that comes from different directions, so one shock does not destroy everything. This is not paranoia. This is prudence. This is how families survive recessions, while others lose homes. This is how opportunity appears during chaos. I also learned something deeply personal about fear. Fear is not the enemy. Ignorance is. Fear often appears when information is incomplete. When people say they are afraid of investing, what they are really saying is, I don't understand what I'm doing, and I don't trust the outsee. That fear is valid. But avoiding the system does not protect you from it. It exposes you to its harshest effects. Inflation does not ask for permission. Market shifts do not wait for comfort. The choice is not whether you will participate in the financial system. The choice is whether you will participate intentionally or accidentally. Once I replaced fear with understanding, money stopped feeling dangerous and started feeling directional. Every dollar became a decision instead of a gamble. Another lesson age taught me is this: short-term thinking is expensive. Most financial pain comes from impatience disguised as urgency. People want results faster than systems can responsibly deliver them. That's how they fall for schemes, hype, and promises that sound good but collapse under scrutiny. Real wealth moves at the speed of discipline. It compounds slowly, then suddenly. At 80, I can tell you this with certainty: boring consistency beats exciting randomness every time. The markets reward patience the same way nature rewards seasons. You don't harvest the day after you plant. You prepare the soil, you protect the seeds, and you give it time. And time, when combined with strategy, is mercilessly generous. Let me speak honestly about legacy, because at my age, it becomes impossible to ignore. Legacy is not about how much money you leave behind. It is about how prepared your family is to manage it. I have seen inheritances destroy relationships because wisdom was not transferred along with wealth. I have seen families lose everything in one generation because no structure, education, and no guidance was put in place. True legacy is teaching financial literacy, building systems that outlive you, and making sure your values are embedded into your planning. Wills, trusts, protection strategies. These are not for the rich, they are for the responsible. Planning for the future is an act of love, not fear. The most empowering realization of my later years was this: EY is a language. And like any language, if you don't learn it, you will always depend on translators. Sometimes, those translators are honest. Sometimes they are not. Financial independence begins when you can ask the right questions, understand the answers, and make decisions without confusion. That is why education is the greatest investment with the highest return I ever made. Not a stock, not a property. Education. Because markets change, tools evolve, and strategies adapt, but understanding compounds forever. And the world today is moving faster than ever. Artificial intelligence, automation, digital assets, global markets. Complexity is increasing, not decreasing. Those who refuse to learn will feel left behind. Those who commit to learning will feel empowered. At 80, I don't see haste trends, but I respect innovation. I don't ignore change, but I don't worship it either. I evaluate it, I filter it, I align with what has utility, transparency, and long-term relevance. That mindset alone protects you from most financial disasters, because the future does not belong to the reckless, nor to the fearful. It belongs to the informed, and informed people don't panic, they prepare. They adapt. They position themselves where growth is possible and risk is understood. That is not luck, that is design. So if you take anything from this part of my story, let it be this: stability is not the absence of risk, it is the presence of strategy. The goal is not to avoid financial storms. The goal is to build a structure that can withstand them. And once you do that, something remarkable happens. Money stops being the center of your life and becomes a support system for it. Your decisions become calmer. Your future becomes clearer. And your confidence stops depending on circumstances. As I stand here at 80 years old, I no longer chase applause. I chase impact. When you reach this age, you realize that the true measure of a life is not how busy you were, but how prepared you became. Prepared for change, prepared for loss, prepared for opportunity. Most people drift through their financial lives reacting instead of designing, hoping instead of planning, and trusting instead of verifying. I lived that way for decades and it cost me time I can never buy back. That is why my final message to you is not motivational. It is practical. The future will not ask you if you are ready. It will simply arrive, and it will reward those who planned and punish those who postponed. The difference between peace and panic is preparation. Let me say something clearly without hesitation. Money is not just about numbers. It is about decisions repeated over time. Small decisions, quiet decisions, often uncomfortable decisions. The decision to learn when entertainment is easier. The decision to invest when spending feels better. The decision to plan when procrastination feels safer. Every financially stable person you admire made those decisions long before the results showed up. They didn't wait to feel confident. They built confidence by acting responsibly. And over time, those actions stacked, compounded, and created a life that looks effortless from the outside, but was intentional from the beginning. At my age, I've seen entire economic systems shift. I've seen industries rise and vanish. I've seen people with high incomes retire broke, and people with modest incomes retire free. The difference was never salary. It was structure. Structure in how money was allocated. Structure in how risk was managed. Structure in how advice was chosen. Guessing is not a strategy. Following the crowd is not a strategy. Hoping the government, the employer, or the market will figure it out for you is not a strategy. Strategy requires guidance, and guidance requires humility. The humility to admit that complex financial systems are not meant to be navigated alone. This is where I speak to you not as a storyteller, but as a witness. The single smartest move I ever made was choosing to work with qualified financial professionals and proven systems instead of trying to outwork uncertainty by myself. I stopped reacting and started aligning. Aligning my goals with disciplined planning. Aligning my investments with my timeline. Aligning my protection with real risk. And the return on that decision was not just financial, it was emotional. Stress reduced, sleep improved, relationships stabilized. Because money problems are rarely just money problems. They are life problems wearing financial clothing. You live in a time of unprecedented access. Information, tools, platforms, and opportunities are available at a level my generation never imagined. But access without direction creates overwhelm, not wealth. That is why the next step for anyone who truly takes this message seriously is not to do everything, but to do the right thing with clarity and support. Whether that means professional financial planning, structured invest, retirement optimization, tax-efficient strategies, or long-term wealth protection, the principle is the same. Intentional action beats passive hope every time. The cost of getting expert guidance is visible. The cost of not getting it is hidden, and far greater. I want you to imagine reaching my age with confidence instead of regret. Imagine knowing that your future was not left to chance. Imagine knowing that your family is protected, your income is structured, and your legacy is intentional. That feeling does not come from luck. It comes from making one clear decision, deciding that your financial life deserves the same seriousness as your career, your health, and your family. When you delay that decision, you are not staying safe, you are staying exposed. So here is my final trut. The one that took me 80 years to fully understand. Wealth is not built by what you earn, but by what you do with what you earn. It is built by learning before losing, by planning before panic, and by acting before regret. The world will continue to change. Markets will rise and fall. Technology will disrupt everything. But disciplined strategy, informed guidance, and long-term thinking will always be rewarded. If my words have reached you, do not let them pass through you unchanged. Take the next step, whatever that looks like for you, and take it deliberately. Seek clarity, seek structure, seek guidance, because the greatest luxury in life is not money, it is peace of mind. And peace of mind is always purchased in advance. That one truth changed everything for me, and if you say wisely today, it can change everything for you too.